Hi guys, so I want to talk to you about knee pain. Now I've had so many clients over the years that have come to me presenting with knee pain, especially when they're doing lower body exercises. So I want to give you my top tips and show you the correct techniques in two of the most popular lower body exercises, squats and lunges, to make sure that you're not getting knee pain and that you're also activating the right muscles in these exercises. So let's start with our squat. Now the most common problem in our squat is that we're putting too much pressure through the front of our knee joint. So I'm going to show you how to do the correct squat technique and make sure that we're loading all of our weight through the back of our body. Now the main muscles that are working in our squat are our quads, our hamstrings, and our glutes. So it's really important that we switch on all of these muscles so we don't get the pain through our knees. Now we're going to build our squat from the ground upwards. Let's start by positioning our feet slightly wider than hip width apart. Now let's not go too wide because otherwise we find that our knees drop inwards and create a lot of pressure on the inside of our knee joint. So slightly hip width apart, and toes are pointing out just a little bit. So again, we don't want to have the toes point out too far, as again the knees are going to fall in and create that medial pressure in the knee joint. So as soon as we've set ourselves up here, we want to make sure that we're positioning correctly through our upper body as well. So chest up nice and tall, and I even like to throw my arms out to the front to help balance our body when we squat. From this position, I want you to think about like you're sitting on a chair. So everything is sending backwards and we're trying to get our bottom down towards the chair. As you can see, as soon as I do this, the weight starts to come through my heels rather than the weight coming through the front of the toes and eventually into the knee. So that's a very common mistake that I see. So we want to sit back onto that chair and keep our chest up nice and tall. At the same time, we're thinking about trying to keep the knees in line with the middle toe rather than having the knees drop in. So what I like to think about here is squeezing my knees outwards and activating those glutes. As you can see now, a lot of my weight is behind my knee joint, into my quads, into my hamstrings, and into my glutes. Okay, so I know a lot of you have trouble with trying to get down low enough in your squat without having your heels lifted. So a nice little tip that I like to use is either using something like a folded up towel, or you can even use something like a yoga or exercise mat that you folded over. Now you put your heels onto this towel. As you can see, now my heels are lifted just a couple of centimeters. Now this is going to help you to sit back rather than feeling like you're going to fall forward. As soon as your heels are lifted, this exercise all of a sudden feels a lot easier. And it's a lot easier to keep your chest up nice and tall and also send your bottom back like you're sitting on that chair. Let's move on to lunges. Now again, the most common mistake I see in a lunge is that too much of our weight and too much pressure is being sent forward into the knee. Now, one of my most hated exercises and one that I will never prescribe to my clients is forward lunges. So lunges where you step forward and then you step back and feet together. Now the reason I don't like to give people this exercise is because, as you can see, when we begin to step forward, a lot of the pressure is moving forward into your knee joint. So rather than working the quads, glutes and hamstrings like I mentioned before in the squat, we're working our knee joint, and that's why we're getting pain. Again, when we step off from this position, all of the pressure is coming through the knee. So how do we fix this? Number one, instead of doing those forward lunges, let's do reverse lunges, so sending everything backwards. So let's demonstrate here. We're going to step back into the lunge. As you can see, to control my body weight here, I have to sit my chest back, use my quads, use my hamstrings, use my glutes, rather than everything coming through my knee. Then I push up, step back together, and there's no pressure in my knee joint. Now that we've realized that front lunges are a big no-no and we want to get more into reverse lunges or even static lunges, I'm going to show you how you can do these lunges correctly so you're really getting the most out of this exercise and you're also avoiding that knee pain. So let's start with our reverse lunge. We just want to start with our feet hip distance apart. So I'll just show you here quickly. Rather than thinking that you need to step back in line with your front foot, so almost like you're on a tightrope. I want you to think like you're stepping back on train tracks. So as you can see here, I've got space between my 2 feet. Now, this is important because if we step back, everything becomes really wobbly and it's literally like we're trying to walk on a tightrope. If we have those train tracks, we're stepping back and we've got so much more support in this position. So let's remember that when we're lunging. So from our starting position, we're stepping back. Now, instead of doing a really short step, because as soon as we short step, our knee comes forward and we're getting that pressure again. I want you to think about having a nice big step backwards. So nice big step back and then send yourself down. So if you see, now my knee is right above my ankle joint and there's no pressure in my knee here. That's a really, really important tip. Again, I'm keeping my chest up nice and tall, just like I did in squats, and then lowering down. Okay, another important tip here, I'm just going to flip around so you can see this. When we lunge back and come down, rather than our knee collapsing inwards, let's think about pushing that knee outwards. So just like we did in our squat, our knee wants to follow our middle toe. So we're stepping back, knee squeezes outwards, lower down, chest up, and then bring it back together. And of course, exactly the same on the other side. So there it is, guys, a few simple tips to get that knee pain out of your lower body exercises. I hope you're able to include this into your next workout and you really feel the difference. Thanks so much for joining me, and I'll see you soon.